my woodland, and what I can do is I've separated the wood into several piles. Normally I'd have 3 piles, so I'd have a pile of stuff that needs cutting up by chainsaw, logging and splitting, and stuff that is thin enough, that's below about 100 millimeters, that can go into the log chonker, which I'll show you in a minute. And I also separate the brash into piles, and I'm going to show you today what that looks like going through the branch logger. So you may ask, why don't I just pile the brash up and leave it for wildlife? Well, the answer is there's a lot of it. My woodland isn't that big, and after a while it just gets unmanageable. There's so much of it. There's plenty of habitat out there for wildlife. There is other brash around, there's stuff that naturally falls with the wind. And this stuff basically just gets in the way. It doesn't rot down very quickly because it's not on the ground, and it tends to trap brambles, and you end up with a huge mound of brambles. So this is the RemetCNC R-120 branch logger, and there are good reviews of this on YouTube. One YouTube user mentioned that it needs to be greased every day, and that was a bit annoying. Remet obviously watched that video because they have fitted a grease nipple, so that gets greased daily. That runs off the PTO of my tractor, and what I'm going to show you is how it deals with this pile of brash here. So you can see this is roughly 8 foot long by about 4 foot round, and it's very springy. This is mostly Osier viminalis, common sallow, which just grows incredibly quickly. There's one there, there's 2 there, if you can see, with the sun in the way, and there's a 3rd one just there, and they're only a few years old. They grow multi-stemmed, they block out a lot of light, but they do produce quite decent logs for firewood. I'm also saving some thinner stuff because I need some handles to make torches with for bonfire season. That's a Sussex thing. There's plenty of videos again, I'm sure, for that you can find. So you see that went through in a pretty short space of time. Now with brash it does tend to get clogged up, and you'll see in here there's a load of wood chip, which is quite finely chopped up stuff. It tends to sort of circulate round, but the machine doesn't seem to mind, doesn't stop it at all. And then out the back end we have the finished result. So most of it, twigs like that, which are quite nicely cut, and again they'll just rot down. This is sort of ramey or wood chip really. It does tend to get clogged, but it's fairly simple to just unclog it, and then you can move on to the next stuff. If you feed bigger stuff through, it will generally push the brash out. So you can see on this birch, it's a bit of a harder wood. Some of the longer stuff doesn't actually get chopped completely through, but you can see that it's actually in bits, and therefore that should rot down quite quickly. You could gather it up, use it as kindling. There are big enough bits in here, but frankly there's so much of it, I just don't really have the need for it at the moment. It doesn't bag up very well, it tends to snag on the nets. It's very difficult to get back out of the nets as well, but it does burn well. So if you have the time and the patience, then it does make great kindling. So one of the features of the branch logger is when it does get clogged, and it always gets clogged on brash, stuff just falls out the bottom. And because it tends to get sort of chopped a few times. It's actually quite fine stuff. This actually you could bag up and sell as a soil enhancement, as sort of ramial wood chip. I'm just going to let it bed down and rot and condition my soil here on this otherwise very boggy bit of field. Another bit of feedback if Remet are watching. This tow bar would be better with a universal hitch that could take a ring hitch. It's also, there's not a lot of space between there and the flywheel. That's the flywheel under there. So getting a trailer on is actually a little bit difficult, but I can get a trailer on. It does tow without any problem at all. But then again, I have got quite a big tractor. So, is it a substitute for a chipper? I'd say yes and no. If you just want wood chip, it's not a chipper, it's a branch logger. If you want little logs, which is what I do, it's fantastic for. I'm hoping to make charcoal from it later. It's a superlative of that. And it does quite a reasonable job on the Brash. So now I've just got 3 fairly small piles of stuff that's either fairly easy to clean up or just to leave to rot down, bed down and improve the soil.